Gary, let's take a little bit of time here. I want to learn a little more about the AWBA, and there's some specifics I got some questions about. Number one's the rules for your group. Talk a little bit about what your rule system is, kind of how you're governed.
Okay. The rules for wheelchair bowling are governed by the rules of the USBC, with some exceptions to those rules. There are 3 or 4 that come to mind immediately, one of which is when the bowler comes to the foul line, they're not allowed to roll to the foul line. They must stop their wheelchair and lock it down and throw from a stationary position.
Right.
We do have 1 or 2 bowlers we've allowed to be able to bowl and roll up to it, even though they come in sideways and are stopped at the foul line. So we have 1 rule that applies to that. In addition to that, if let's say a chair breaks down, we allow a 15-minute time frame to be able to repair that chair, so they can get back into the match. And finally, a number of our bowlers could have a physical issue that may arise while they're bowling. And we allow a time frame to be able to take care of that physical issue and then return to the lanes to finish the match.
So you guys have had rules that have developed over time, and obviously as conditions change, like any other organization, you're changing your rules to fit your customer as it moves along.
Absolutely. When ramp bowling came in, we had our first ICANN bowler apply for the membership. We had never seen an ICANN before, so USBC approved the ICANN in 1993. We came and looked at the ICANN, then approved it ourselves, and then applied the various rules, because an ICANN appears to touch beyond the foul line, which is against the rules of bowling. So we wanted to make sure that that piece of equipment was not hitting the lanes, so we did some testing on it to ensure that that wasn't happening, and then wrote a specific rule for the ICANN.
So now you're allowed to use that in competition with you guys?
Yes, you are.
Outstanding. So the rules are constantly changing. Like I said, it's definitely something you guys are on track of, and keeping on top of every time that something arises, you guys are making sure you adapt accordingly.
Sure, it's like anything in bowling. Equipment changes all the time, whether it's a bowling ball, lane, oil, whatever the case may be. And those will have to be approved certainly by you all, and certainly then we have to look at it to ensure it's going to fit our needs.
I learned something interesting also. AWBA has divisions. Obviously with a variety of players out there, you've got multiple divisions, just like we do at USBC, depending on competitions and tournaments. We have multiple divisions. Talk about some of what you see at AWBA.
Well, the AWBA started out as a pure scratch organization back in the 60s. Of course, the scratch scores back in the 60s were 130, 135. As the game progressed, as well as wheelchairs and athletes progressed, we saw a need to maintain the scratch division, yet establish a handicap division. As the handicap division grew, it got to the point where it was too massive, so we broke it into 2 different divisions. So now we have a scratch division, an A division, and a B division, and the A and the B division is determined by the given handicap of that individual. So for an example, the most recent national, the B division went down as low as 80 in terms of average. You can bowl in scratch division at your own decision. So it allows, we also then establish the novice division, and that's for the brand new bowler that's never experienced a tournament, and allow them to come in and bowl with us. They're not eligible for any prizes or anything of that nature. However, they can come in, bowl with us, pay a limited amount to come in. So we have bowlers from 200 all the way down to 80. So it crosses the field in the spectrum of the abilities.
It doesn't limit anybody from competing. Obviously, it opens the doors for all varieties and all levels of players. So the door is completely open all the time when it comes to accepting everybody into the AWBA.
And that's our objective. We want to make sure that if anyone was a walking bowler at one point and went into a wheelchair, as a matter of fact, our A division bowler that just won the national championship just began bowling in a wheelchair in September. But he was a walking bowler with a 230 average. He didn't want to lose the sport. So just because a person's knees go out or doesn't mean that bowling has to stop. So it gives them a chance to continue.
That's great to hear. I also have a question. You guys, I know, do a lot of fundraising along the way. You have great sponsors that help you out along the way as well. USBC, I know, is proud to be a partner with you guys, and I know we've worked together now for several years. Look forward to that relationship continuing. How do you continue funding your group with AWBA?
Well, the AWBA, as I said initially, is a nonprofit organization that's totally volunteer. Our funding depends on donations coming in through various corporate sponsors that we have. Storm is one of our great sponsors. The USBC is one of our great sponsors. BPA is one of our great sponsors. Local Infusion is one of our great sponsors. We have some other sponsors that are non-bowling associated, more directed at health of some of the individuals and their needs. So we're an organization that continues to thrive and grow and develop revenues through various areas and various entities, and we certainly appreciate all those sponsors that come on and support what we do as an organization.
Outstanding. Also, to kind of roll things toward a close here, I know we're getting close to wrapping up some great information. I'd like to know, and I know that you guys are constantly moving and evolving, what's new right now at AWBA?
We have a lot of exciting things happening. Last year, our growth was 23%, the largest growth in the history of the organization.
Wow, outstanding.
We're really excited about that, and people say, well, what's your ideal new member? Well, the ideal new member is no new member. But that's not realistic, because that would mean that nobody else would be put in a wheelchair.
Sure.
So the ideal member are those that come to us and want to begin to develop the fellowship and the camaraderie that we have, in addition to the competitive environment that we live in. The exciting thing is we have just established and are in process of writing the bylaws and constitution for the International Wheelchair Tin Pin Association. We're not the only country that has people that bowl in wheelchairs. Mm-hmm. As the secretary of the organization, I get calls from Japan, Canada, Australia, England, mm-hmm. In questioning how we do things, what do we do? So we figured we'd lead the organization and begin to put that out there, and primarily to focus on becoming a part in hopes of the Paralympic Games at some point in the future. We're going to push really hard for that. That's part of our 5-year plan. We're also looking to go into the Pan Am Games, mm-hmm. which will also allow us to be able to grow the sport even more. Bowling is a global sport. It's not a U.S. sport, it's a global sport. And we want to involve those people that are in foreign countries, that are in wheelchairs, and are limited, believe it or not, in accessibility, recognition. Mm-hmm. We want to be able to help them fight their battles to be able to get across and up to that foul line. In addition to that, we've just put forth our first ranking system. Mm-hmm. So we rank all of our bowlers now in terms of how they finish in various tournaments around the country, yeah. And how they're able to compete at various levels, and we'll have an award at the end of the year for the top ranked bowler of the year. So those are all exciting things that are going on. We have a new membership program that Storm's heavily involved in. Mm-hmm. It's been an exciting year, and the future for the American Wheelchair Bowling Association looks incredibly bright. That's
not only exciting to hear, but it's definitely encouraging for anybody that may be interested in just getting started and maybe even nervous or curious about how to get started. So one more time, if they want to find out how to get a hold of you guys, what's the best way to reach AWBA?
Go to awba.org. That'll give you all the information you need. The important thing to remember as a wheelchair individual is one thing. Your walls are not your world. Your walls are your world if you make it your world. For those people that say you can't, move them aside and show them that you can. We're here to put and assist in 40 states around the country. We'll put our hands on you. We'll help you in every way that we can to be able to let you strive at the sport that you love. Bowling is a sport for family. It's a sport for the youth. It's a sport for people in wheelchairs. It's for a sport with people in aged category. The individual that just won our scratch division just set a history-breaking record. He was 79 years old, bowling against 40-year-olds, and won the scratch division. So if you're out there, contact us. Let us know who you are. We'll contact you. We contact all interested members within 48 hours of them contacting us. So awba.org, contact us. We'd love to meet you, love to have you join us.
There it is. Thanks, Gary, for the information. We appreciate it, and get out there and support the AWBA.
Thank you, Stephen.